can enroll in, where we can help out locally with different issues that come up in our community. And I give them the answer all the time. We have two that I know that are great, that I'm members of, and very proud to be members of. So that saying, my first guest speaker will be Jim Arroyo from YCPT.
Good afternoon, Oath Keepers. How many of you have been to our meetings? Raise your hands if you know all about the Oath Keepers or been to our trainings. Look at the room, almost half, more than half. All right, guys, here's the deal. We have formed the Yavapai County Preparedness Team to help augment the Oath Keeper mission of preparing the communities for any and all events that are disastrous, natural or man-made. We have probably the most active group in the United States. We've been listed as the largest active group. We have been training now, we're in our 8th year of operation. If you want to come to our events, we meet twice a month at the First Southern Baptist Church in Chino Valley. There are cards up front with our website and all of our information. There's a phone number there that you can get a hold of Janet during the day. You can call me in the evening. And all of our event information is listed, all of the trainings we do. But here's the deal, guys. Some of you have been with me a long time. And we have developed what we consider the best contingency plans for natural and man-made disasters. We are headed for an economic man-made disaster to beat the band. And I don't think anybody here doesn't believe that. So you've probably been hearing rumors of parallel societies being formed. Has everybody heard of that? Okay. We are going to be announcing a program come our next meeting, and this is going to be a big deal for us. We are going to be moving full speed with our program to help establish parallel society and parallel economy. When this ship goes down, you'd better be ready to get off of it. And I don't mean get on a lifeboat, and I don't mean rearrange the deck chairs. I mean get on another ship, one that's going to move up alongside this one and continue to march. Freedom isn't free, and it isn't cheap. So it's going to take effort. What it's all about is participation and cooperation. If that doesn't happen, the American experiment has failed. The only way it's going to work is everybody's got to work together. And we have a plan to do that. We have a program in place. I'm going to give you a website you can check out. It's from Stefan Verstappen. I don't know if any of you have heard of him. He's a Canadian. And we're following his training. Believe it or not, he did a long interview on Dave Hodges. And pretty much most of what he's talking about, we've already done. So we just need to take it to the final phases. So I would recommend, what's the name of the website, Janet? formingcommunities.com. Go there, look it up, formingcommunities.com. What it is a way of reverting back to the way it was in the beginning when there was more centralized government at the local level, not at the state or the federal level. And as we've seen, the federal government has failed us. And it's not looking real good at the state level right now. So the only thing we can do is be prepared to feed our families, take care of our homes, protect ourselves, not knowing what's coming down the pipe. We have a global war we're facing right now. We've got the Chinese getting ready to take out Taiwan, and before they do that, they will initiate a massive cyber attack against this country. So it's on its way. We are the only organization in all of Yavapai County, and including Arizona, that actually has plans that we're teaching people what to do to get out of the way. I'm not training you for a civil war to fight in it. I'm training you to get out of the way, because it's coming. There will be civil unrest, and this country's headed for civil war. If you doubt that, you'd better start paying attention and start coming to our meetings, get the intel briefings of what's going on behind the scenes so that we can get you trained up. Time is short. You are on borrowed time. Some of our students have been training with us for over 8 years, and I've been teaching these classes for over 40 years. It's here. The main event is about ready to kick off. Okay, Super Bowl's upon us. So come to the meetings, you have questions, get our cards, or talk to me after the event, and we'll get you squared away. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. One of the things that I failed to do earlier, and God forgive me, I forgot to do our invocation. And our next speaker is a reverend, and he is going to do our invocation, and then he's going to talk about the next group. So please, Lucas, come on up.
Nice thing about God is that he doesn't forget us, even when we forget him. So, in that case, if we can bow our heads, close our eyes. Father God, we're asking right now, God, that you would come into this place. God, we're asking that you would be the center, God, as you were at the beginning of our country, when we claimed in our Bill of Rights and in our Constitution that we are blessed with inalienable rights, endowed by our Creator. Father God, we're asking that you would take that place again, starting with this meeting in this place. God, we're careful to give you all the praise and glory in Jesus' mighty name. Amen and amen. Amen. I represent a group called Yavapai Rising. I'm just going to read what it says on our website, and then I'm going to break that down. We are a united band of independent thinking conservative citizens who are bound by our love of our country and our God. Freedom beats strongly in our hearts, and every breath fills us with the desire to live a better life and create a better world. The current actions of our leaders deeply disturb us. We refuse to be ruled by force, deceit, suppression, coercion, or intimidation, and we recognize that those in power have eroded our laws, distorted our policies, and blurred the lines of injustice. If you're paying attention to the world that we have right now, you can see that we are in the middle of a fight. And the time has come to fight back. We're not playing by their rules anymore. We're playing by the right rules. We're doing it the right way. We are laying things down as per the Constitution. We are doing what we were told to do, and we're fighting back. And then on that same note, this is the call to all of the politicians. We know who the Democrats and the left are. But to everybody in the establishment that has been a rhino, you better get in line or you're going to get burned out. Because we've had enough. Yavapai Rising recently has come under an assault from every corner. And it's my pleasure to say, and to quote from one of my favorite movies, we will not go quietly into the night, and we will not back down without a fight. You think you've won because you're on the ropes, so you attack us back. It will not happen. We will not stop, and we will win this war. I'd like to extend an invitation to everybody. Our next meeting is November 18th. We have Dave Hodges from the Common Sense Show coming up. And then in December, we have our representative Gosar is going to be our keynote speaker. We'd love to have you all there. Our website is yavapairising.org, or if you have any other questions, you can see me afterward. Thank you very much, and God bless.
Our show is about to begin. I'd like to welcome our founders of We the People Arizona Alliance, Shelby Busch and Steve Robison.
So welcome everybody, and thanks for being here. Election integrity is probably the most important thing facing our country right now. If we do not have a voice in our own elections, we will never again regain our voice in our government. And this is the fight of the century, right here, election integrity. We have a whole program for you. We're going to review all of the evidence that was presented. We're also going to give you more information about other things that you probably have not heard about in the media as far as what's going on with the investigation. Excuse me. But unfortunately, Senator Fann is going to have to start this show for us today. And she will go first in this event, and then I ask that you please do stick around because we've got a lot of really great things, including our auditors will come up and they will, some of our audit observers and audit workers will come up and give some of their testimonies of what they saw in the audit, and then there will be a Q&A panel after. If you have questions for Senator Fann, I ask that you do please write them on the index cards if you haven't done so already. She has agreed to answer any and all of your questions before she leaves here today. So, yeah, time willing, obviously. But, so without further ado, I want to welcome somebody to the stage that I believe has been instrumental in putting election integrity back on the map and giving us the will to continue to fight, as she was the only state elected official that was able to get the job done and bring an audit somewhere in the United States, and she did it right here in the state of Arizona, in Maricopa County. I want to welcome Senator President Karen Fann.
Thank you all so much. Can you hear me okay? Yes. I can't see you very well because there's bright lights, but I know you're out there. Special thanks to Shelby and Steve. They have been the rocks of Gibraltar from day one on this one, and my gratitude and thanks and love to them always. This has been a real challenge so far. We're not done. We're just beginning, just so you know. Just because we've got most of the report, not all of the report, this is just the beginning of where we're going and what we are doing. I know many of you have heard me speak before on this. We've tried to give updates all along. I'm going to kind of go back a little bit, so for the benefit of anybody new that's here, so that you don't feel totally lost, that you know where we've been and where we're going. But first and foremost, what I really want to say to each and every one of you, particularly to any of you who did work at the audit, we had 1,500 volunteers. They gave up their vacations, they hired babysitters for their kids, yes. And it is for them that I am forever eternally grateful, because we could not have done this without the volunteers. We could not have done this without them sticking with us, because, as you know, it took a lot longer than everybody thought it. And they thought that they were going to have to be there, and what happened was it was months, and they hung in there and they did it. So you guys are amazing. All of you that have been supportive, that you have had our backs, you were amazing, and I love you all very, very, very much. This has been a really tough challenge, to say the least. First and foremost, know that this has never been about anything other than election integrity. Even though the media has sat there and twisted this from day one, before we even interviewed or hired auditors, they started trashing this because they did not, nor do the Democrats, did not want to have an audit done. Their hatred for Trump and Republicans is so huge that I do firmly believe that many of them believe, like AOC does, is that, and in her words, it's okay to cheat because that's the only way we can get our people in. If you guys didn't see that on Twitter, she put that out there a couple months ago. And I do believe that there's some people that honestly feel that way that are currently working in our election system. Now, when we talk about election integrity, I know some from day one said, oh, Trump won, there's no way this and that and the other. Never once have I said fraud. Never once have I said, oh, Trump won. What I said is that we are doing election integrity because our job is to make sure that the elections were done fairly, honestly, accurately, that every vote that was supposed to be counted got counted, and those that should not have been counted did not get counted, and nobody broke the laws, and then we'll figure out where we go from there. So that's what this has all been about from day one. We finally were able to interview and hire some auditors after months of lawsuits. The Maricopa County Board of Supervisors, when this all started, I asked them, please, let's pick somebody together. Of course, this is before everything got the way it did. Let's leave the ballots at your facilities, under lock and key, under your cameras. Let's leave the routers and everything there. Let's do this together. And they said, ultimately said, no. So we issued the subpoenas. I'm giving you the Reader's Digest version here, folks, because it was long. We issued the subpoenas. They took us to court. After American Oversight took us to court, after everybody else, they took us to court and said, oh no, you don't have the right to subpoena us or to get this information. Luckily, we had a judge, the first judge involved with this. We are now on our fourth judge. But Judge Thompson actually did agree with us and said, yes, they have the constitutional authority to issue the subpoenas and to get whatever information they need because they are the legislative body. It is their job to write laws and to pass laws, and they cannot do that if they don't have full access to all the information, regardless of what the topic is. And that's why we were able to be successful. All other lawsuits were dismissed in court that were filed by anybody else that was challenging the 2020 election. One of the reasons why they were dismissed, the main reason, is because they were all filed claiming there was fraud. Folks, you can't prove fraud, you can't claim fraud until you can prove it, right? Because fraud means that somebody did something intentionally. So that is why it was thrown out, because they had no proof. They had no documentation. In fact, an audit hadn't even been done to figure out whether there were any rules broken to begin with. But because we went down the path of election integrity, because we went down the path that we should as your elected officials, that's why we are where we're at today and why we're the only ones that have been able to be successful up to this point. Other states are now moving forward. They've been watching us closely. We've had 18 other states come visit the audit. They watched what we did. They watched how we operated, how we counted votes, how we scanned the ballots, everything. And I am in continuous contact with all of them as they start working through their processes there. Myself and some others. When we talk about the media, and I talk about how bad it's been, if any of you get the horrible Arizona Republic, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. I have more darts in my back. Everybody said, what happened to Karen? She used to be a nice person. Now I'm a crazy nut, they said. But, you know, that's the liberal media, right? They definitely do not want us looking into these things. American Oversight, which is a very heavy Democrat-led national agency, has sued us many times. A lot of it has to do with public records requests. A lot of it has to do with pretty much trying to stop us. They tried to stop us from counting the ballots. They tried to put an injunction on us. We were able to fight them all back. I'm sorry to say that I had to spend some taxpayer monies to make that happen, but I hope you'll forgive me and you'll see that it was a good cause that we spent that money on, right? Even from the day one, it's interesting to note that Maricopa County set up their own Twitter account so that every time something came out, they tweeted out an excuse, an explanation, or in some cases just out and out lies. It was interesting how they would go in front of the media, and 4 of these 5 are Republicans, or they say they were Republicans. And they were hook and line along with the liberal media, and they were feeding off of each other, as was Stephen Richard. I'm sorry to say, but our new county recorder, we were all excited to get rid of Adrian Fontes because we knew how bad he was in the 2018 election. We were like, great, we finally have a honest Republican in there. I don't know what he's doing or what he thinks he's doing, but he is towing the county supervisor line right now. And so he's doing the same thing. He's got a Twitter page up and he's just tweeting out all this stuff. So when we finally got the information, we got the logs and the ballots and everything else, started working on them, and it became very apparent to Doug Logan from Cyber Ninjas, Ben Cotton from Cypher, that there were documents missing off of the servers. Large files missing. We went back and said, you guys, there's files missing. In fact, in July, we had an interim report so that they could report to us what was taking so long, where are you at, what are you doing, and it was reported in July that one of the things that was taking them so long is because there was information missing on the servers. We also know that the chain of custody was wholly lacking. I can't tell you where the ballots were at any given time before we got them. We know that they did not follow procedures when it came to duplicate ballots. When there's a spoiled ballot, you make one duplicate, you identify it. If this ballot is number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you mark one ballot 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so everybody knows this ballot was only counted once, and it was only the duplicate counted. That's how you keep track and audit duplicate ballots. What do we find? We found boxes that on the outside of the box, if they were marked duplicate, you open the box up and none of them were numbered. I can't tell you whether they were duplicates or not. I can't tell you where they came from. That's a serious problem, folks. That's a real serious problem. Let's talk about all the missing data and information. And to what Shelby said as well, please, please, please stick around. I was going to speak at the end. I had a death in my immediate family this week. So I have a lot of family members that are flying in. So I told Shelby, please let me go first so I can take care of you guys, and then I'm going to go be with my family after this. So please, please, please stay afterwards because they're going to show you all the backup of what I'm telling you right now. They are going to, I think you're going to be really interested in seeing it, so don't leave, folks. When we talk about the missing data, and as they testified that because of the missing data on the EMS servers, that it was difficult to tie some of these numbers together. And so when the report came out September 24th, I can tell you that much of that report is inconclusive. If you've read it, you see where they were able to identify A, B, and C, but they couldn't tie D together because we didn't have the Splunk logs, the routers, missing data, and we'll talk about the Splunk logs and the routers in a minute. But we had missing data. And all along, supervisor said, we didn't delete anything. You guys are nuts. You don't know what you're doing. You're a bunch of crazy people. That's what they said. And you guys don't know what you're doing. Anybody watch the congressional hearing about 3 weeks ago? Oh, it was awesome. If you didn't,
I have clips I'm going to play.
you have it. Thank you very much. It is pretty awesome. So, my love to Aunt Congressman Biggs. He's my hero. So the Democrats decided they were going to do this hearing, and the hearing was something like the sham audit of Arizona. It was a setup from day one, right? They were loaded for bear. And actually, interesting, what happened is they all came out looking really stupid, thanks to Congressman Biggs. Part of that deal was, so they went through their whole rigmarole and everything else. There was 2 of our Board of Supervisors there, sworn in under testimony before the congressional hearing. Ken Bennett was there, and then there was somebody else, sorry, I don't even remember the guy's name, but apparently he's supposed to be some election expert, obviously on the Democrat side. So Ken Bennett was extremely articulate about explaining all the laws that were broken, that Adrian Fontes, what I just described to you, the duplicate ballots, missing information, lack of chain of custody, ballots were just dumped into boxes on the side. Shelby, any of you guys that work there, you know exactly what I'm talking about. They said before the election started, Fontes says, we only use 4 types of paper and it's all secure and coded, so there's no way that there could be bleed through in any way whatsoever. Wrong. We can prove to you there was over 10 types of paper used, and yes, there was bleed through, and I can show it to you. Yep. So they lied to us about that as well. But one of the biggest things is all along, remember they said we're nuts, they didn't delete anything, and they've given us everything. Lie number 10. No, they have withheld the splunk logs and the logs all the time and the routers. But then Andy Biggs says, so I have right here in front of me absolute proof that, yeah, there was information deleted from the servers the day before they were turned over to the auditors in the Senate. The day before. And he looked at the supervisors and he says, would you like to tell me if that's correct? And one of them said, now remember, now they're under oath. Yeah, we did. And then he explains, well, they had to do that but to make room for an upcoming election. Congressman Biggs says, well, that doesn't really explain why there's still older elections from 18 on there, but you decided to do these the day before. So you got to wonder, why did they really delete information, huge files of data, the day before, and left old stuff on there? They testified that, oh, this was a really, really great election. It was perfect. It was wonderful. And he says, this is the same guy, Adrian Fontes, that screwed up the 2018 election so bad that you literally hired somebody to oversee him. And apparently he didn't do a much better job this time. And if you look at the look on their faces, pretty much all they did was kind of go, true, right? True? I mean, if you look at it, you'll see what I'm talking about. So then Andy says, so that deleted information, and he goes, wait, it's all archived. It's not. Now, mind you, the statutes say that you're not allowed to delete information like that. So they broke the rules there to begin with. However, they said, but it's archived. It's on a backup. So they deleted this amount here and backed it up on another file, supposedly. And he goes, okay. He says, then did you turn over that information that you deleted and archived? Did you turn that over to the auditors in the Senate? And Bill Gates says, no. And Andy said, why? And he says, well, because they didn't subpoena the archive stuff. He actually said that with a straight face, really hard to believe. And of course, Andy says, well, I have the subpoena right in front of me. It says turn over the information, period. You should have turned it over. So this is the stuff we've been dealing with throughout the audit. Besides the challenges, besides everything else, we have been lied to. They have hidden stuff away from us. Now, has anybody read about any of this stuff in the paper, in the media? Nope, right? Months and months and months we've gone by. The Arizona Republic, liberal media, CNN, everybody else has totally trashed us, attacked us, ruined my reputation, ruined Cyber Ninjas, Cypher's, anybody connected with this audit. They have ruined our reputations because they are reporting the facts. And when I asked every one of them and I said, you guys, here it is. Let me show you right here, under oath, and it has been filmed and documented, the whole world to see. Why aren't you guys reporting that? Wouldn't you think that any news media would probably think that would be a pretty juicy story? If it was reversed?